Hello everyone, my name is Kasper Nyman and I'm a sales manager from Tantech. Today we are going to talk about medical devices and how we can treat and approve adhesion on medical devices. But before we start the presentation of that, I will just shortly explain about Tantech. We are quite old company. We have been working in the corona and plasma business for almost 50 years. We are founded and still placed here in Denmark, and we have for almost our entire time been working with medical devices. So we have a large range of standard products and a even larger range of special customized product where we can adjust them to the exact product and exact production line. We are placed almost all over the world. We have an agent in at least 30 countries around the world, and in the US, placed in Chicago, we have a daughter company also. And in that company, Jeff Gradus is our vice president. For the presentation about the products, about what we can do within the medical device section, I've been so lucky that Jeff will make an introduction to you. So he will come on in a few seconds. If you have any questions during the presentation, please write them down or send them in the comment questionnaire field. Then we will take them after the presentation. We take all of them together. Thanks a lot, and I will give the word to you, Jeff. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hi, everyone. My name is Jeff Gradus. I run the sales and service office for North America for Tantech. Today's webinar will be based on plasma treatment and corona treatment in the medical device industry. As I'm sure many of you have experienced in this industry, adhesion and coating is definitely a challenge on low surface energy materials like polystyrene, polypropylene, polyethylene. It's important to improve the adhesion and the coating capabilities of these plastics to ensure that you can meet your FDA regulations for ink scratching, coating, and those types of things that are important to ensure that the integrity of your medical device meets the standards required by the medical industry. Plasma and corona surface treatment are going to modify the chemical structures on the top layer of the molecule of the plastic part. This helps ensure that we get good uniform treatment to allow your glue or your coating to actually attach itself to the plastic itself and ensure that you can pass your pull test or your scratch test. Typically what we find with plastics that have low surface energy, the molecules are very tightly bonded together. After a chemical or a plasma or corona treatment, we'll go ahead and break those molecules apart, creating the chemical change to the surface, improving that coating or adhesion, creating these peaks and valleys that will allow the surface to accept the ink or coating in a much more receptive manner. The improved uniform treatment ensures that you do get good cell growth cultures, you get good wetting out of your coating, you don't have any bare or blank spots that will result in a medical product defect, resulting in recalls and not being able to meet the requirements put in place by the FDA for your product. So why do we typically look at surface treatment and how do we solve these adhesion problems? With plasma and corona treatment, they both provide a great deal of value in an environmentally friendly way. We're replacing primers that have a lot of VOCs that are constantly being outlawed or put more restrictions on from state to state based on the chemical VOCs that are given off during the use of these primers. It's really not something your operators want to be exposed to on a regular basis. Environmentally friendly, meaning that we're creating this with electricity or air and not putting any additional chemicals in front of your operators to use. These are built into machines and systems that don't require a lot of operator interface. One of the great things about plasma and corona surface treatment is we can do a complete treatment of the entire part, meaning if you need the entire surface 360 degrees to be treated, we can do that with all of our technologies. We can also shift to more of a focused or spot treatment, if you will, for maybe just a specific glue area or a small area that you're trying to print on and not treat the whole part. What's great about the Tantech systems is they are unique and specialized to where we can go ahead and customize or make the system fit your production needs instead of requiring you to change your production process in order to implement a solution like this. In many cases, you're going to find that a Tantech solution might be more than one. There could be the use of atmospheric plasma and corona, or it could be the use of vacuum plasma or corona. We always have that ability to provide multiple solutions and technologies to achieve the nice uniform treatment across the surface. One of the other areas that Tantec really specializes in is treating hard to reach areas on the part. Insides of needle hubs, inside of a syringe or a tube, all of those areas that typically can't be done with a standard or basic corona or plasma system. Tantec has the ability to develop unique and interesting ways to get down inside of a part, be it maybe a narrow opening where we're trying to glue something to it, or maybe trying to ignite the inside of the entire tube without affecting the outside of the tube. Another area we get a lot of questions on is what's this going to do to my part in terms of the overall look, feel, and operation of the part. Typically, a plasma or corona surface treatment system has no ill effect on the cosmetic or structural integrity of the part. The same part that you're producing after corona or plasma treatment will still be the same part. We're not changing the overall structural integrity or the overall look or feel of the part. You can't tell anything's been done by the naked eye. You need some sort of method in order to measure that. So some of the typical parts that we run across in the medical device industry that are looking for some sort of corona or plasma surface treatment, needle hubs, simply gluing the cannula into the opening of the needle hub is a very, very challenging process without improving the wettability and the adhesion properties of a polypropylene hub. So what we typically do is we will shoot a high voltage electrode into the opening, or even use an atmospheric plasma into the opening of the hub to create wettability and adhesion improvement, so that when the cannula is inserted and the glue is put in place, it gets good wetting and good adhesion improvement. Another area in the syringe itself, we're looking to print on the outside of the syringe. As you might imagine, one of the big key factors there is ensuring that the print lasts on the syringe for the life of the syringe. The last thing anyone wants to have happen is those graduations to be scratched off or removed during transport or when the doctor is working with it. As you might imagine, the importance of giving the right dose of medicine is critical here, and that's why that print quality on the outside of the syringe is very important. We've had other requests to do the inside of the syringe as well for whatever coating process that might be being done there. It can be done in a multitude of ways, with a simple high voltage electrode being plunged into the syringe to create that functional change, as well as maybe even pumping the syringe with a gas and igniting that from the outside, or even placing them in a vacuum chamber and allowing the plasma to work its way into the syringe, creating a nice uniform treatment. Catheter tubing is another area where we've got multiple uses for our corona and plasma. One of the big ones is obviously printing on the catheter. Putting certain bands or color markings or length definitions on there so that a doctor knows how far into the body the catheter has gone. Obviously, again, here we want to make sure that that print doesn't come off the surface, so there's no risk or concern to the use of the device as a doctor not knowing exactly how far in the body they've inserted it. The other area, as you might imagine, we all can probably appreciate, is the coating on a catheter itself. We want to make sure that this has a lubricious coating that adheres and wets out uniformly, so when it's entered into the body, it reduces the amount of discomfort in place with a catheter. Ostomy bags, these are used for improving the Velcro attachment and also printing a date code on them so that we can confirm when the product was manufactured. It's a very, very common application for us. One of the more common is obviously life sciences parts, petri dishes, culture tissue products, where we're treating the inside of these products to go ahead and grow cells and bacteria. And as you might imagine, during the time of Corona, this became very, very popular and extremely important to have petri dishes and cell growth culture materials to go ahead and develop these and help develop vaccines, and also determine what type of viruses are growing and be able to study those very, very well. And the last area that we tend to focus on in the medical device is ophthalmic lenses. In the ophthalmic industry, we do a lot with lenses and coatings for anti-fog, anti-scratch. It's really important that we're able to get a nice uniform coat across those surfaces. And typically with a polycarbonate or something along those lines, getting those coatings to stick to the surface is a big challenge. We want a nice thin layer on there, as we don't want to bulk up the lens itself and cause a change in the overall properties of the plastic after they've been modified. So one of the areas we touched on was poor adhesion on tissue culture products, multi-well plates, petri dishes, flasks. It's all very, very important that we get a nice uniform treatment across those surfaces so that when bacteria and things like that are grown inside there, it doesn't result in a failure just simply because the bacteria wasn't able to grow uniformly across the surface. We talked a little bit about syringes a short while ago, and these are just a couple of images showing some of the stuff that I talked about regarding the needle hub and also the quality of the print on the outside of the syringe. Polypropylene is a very, very difficult material to treat, especially in the medical device industry, so it's very important that a plasma or corona treatment is put in place in order to ensure that the ink or those graduations on the syringe are going to adhere really well and also print out in a good resolution so the doctor can see what they're doing. As you can see, a couple of the images here showing the needle hubs, pointing out exactly where that bond joint takes place. And you look at the opening of the needle hub and you wonder, how can we get anything in there to go ahead and treat that? It's a really unique and specialized design that Tantec has to pull the electricity from the corona right into the opening and down through the needle hub, ensuring that the overall adhesion of that glue when the cannula is inserted is greatly improved. So as I mentioned earlier about the ostomy pouches, this is just an image here showing the ostomy pouch in the areas where Tantec is focusing the treatment. Obviously, we're trying to glue that Velcro tape down to make sure that that doesn't peel off very easily. So that's typically done with a corona-based system, as well as the print quality or the good adhesion of the print itself for date codes and product information to ensure that if there's a problem with the product or anything along those lines, there's traceability and trackability on these particular products. The other area we touched on were the ophthalmic lenses. As we talked, typically a polycarbonate-based material. Lens coatings are a major value add to the glass industry, or the glasses industry, I should say. The anti-fog, anti-scratch, transitions coating, all of those things that people look for on their glasses to improve the quality and overall use of their glasses is important. So when you start building these layers of coatings over and over again, you want to make sure that each layer adheres properly. We don't want to have these buildups of coatings because we've got to put additional material on because it's not wetting out well. We also don't want to have cases where the coating flakes off or scratches off too easily, as well as you don't want little defects like fish eyes or small pockets that didn't coat, resulting in a poor quality lens that the customer will ultimately reject and have to have the lens remade at that point. Tantec has been working in this industry for more than 20 years. We've got a variety of different solutions here with Corona or plasma as possible technologies that can improve your process. This slide here is just simply showing you the before and after surface treatment, or before and after effects of printing with and without treatment. So you see the bottom photo here showing a slide of the graduations, as I talked about earlier, being simply removed or scratched off or not providing a clear resolution to know how much material is inside the syringe itself. After treatment, you can see the vibrance in the ink itself. The adhesion is there, meaning it's not scratching off. And this is typically some of the regulations you have to run into when it comes to getting a product FDA approved. They have to pass these levels of testing to ensure that when the product makes it to market, there's no risk to the patient. Tantec has got a lot of experience in the medical device industry in helping customers achieve that FDA approval by adding a plasma or corona process. Plasma and corona is an accepted technology in the medical device industry and is used in a lot of FDA approved products, so there's no concern that you're introducing a new technology to an industry that requires additional testing or regulation. Some of Tantec's systems that are used in the medical device industry, one of the big ones is our Rototec, which is a rotational corona-based process. This has rotating dishes of electrodes that are creating a high voltage field as the part passes underneath that. This product is very unique and specialized in that rotation provides a very nice uniform treatment, but it also allows for the treatment of larger parts that are taller, creating a good uniform treatment across a large part or also down into the base of a part that might have taller sidewalls. So it's used quite often for tissue culture products like Petri dishes, multi-well plates, flasks, also used for ophthalmic lenses, and just about any other type of shaped part that needs treatment around the sides of the part or down inside an open cavity of the part itself. Another area that we've got a lot of experience in, we call it our Syrintek, which is a syringe treatment system, which allows for the parts to be hanging and passing through a corona field, almost like a curtain of corona, that will then treat the entire syringe 360 degrees. As I mentioned before, not only do we treat the outside of the syringe, we can also treat the inside of the syringe, or even the inside of a tube or a cuvette or something along those lines where you need interior wall treatment to get your media to go ahead and wet out and spread out onto the interior of the surface. Needle hubs, that's a nice area where we have multiple technologies. We have 2 different types of coronas that can work with needle hubs, as well as atmospheric plasma, giving you a nice opportunity to integrate a system without affecting too much of your current process. With needle hubs, we can run systems up to 1,800 parts per minute. So we can do a really, really high speed. We can also develop systems for low speed. Keep in mind, these are just some of our technologies. If you have a unique challenge with your medical device product, certainly something Tantech is open to discussing with you and investigating a little bit further, providing you with some possible solutions. One of the areas that we like to notify our customers of is we have a full lab in our office in Chicago, as well as our home office in Denmark, where we do free sample testing to help evaluate your material, your process, help prove out what we can do in terms of providing that improvement in surface energy, which should then translate to better adhesion, better coating, better print quality. One important factor I always like to let all of our customers know, no matter what we do in terms of surface energy change, it's important to put the part through your final test process. Change in surface energy doesn't always equate to better adhesion or better coating. So we always want to stress to our customers, yes, we're able to treat the part, we're able to provide you an improvement in surface energy, but at the end of the day, we need you to go ahead and test the part and confirm that it does provide that value add you're looking for. And here we're going to go ahead and watch a quick animation video on our Rototech X, and then turn it over to our Q&A session to allow you guys to go ahead and reach out to us and ask some questions and let us provide you a little bit of additional feedback that might be more specific to what you're looking for.
Thank you, Jeff, for this presentation. Thank you. If you have any questions, then we would like to have them. You can always write them in the chat. During the presentation, there came a couple of questions, so we will start with these, and if you have any other, then please write them in the chat. So the first one we got was, how long does the surface treatment last? And it's a question I cannot answer 100% clearly on. What we say is normal. What happens on the surface if it's the more softer material like rubber and silicone, you have it will not last as long as on the harder plastic materials. On rubber, silicone, we sometimes see treatment lasting down to a few hours, meaning you need to make your bonding, you need to make gluing or writing ink on or what you want, you need to do that before these hours. But on harder plastic materials, we see up to months and some also years, depending on how they are stored afterwards. So I cannot answer it 100%. But what we do is that when we test products here, we also get a quite good feeling on what is the shelf life before you are going to glue or printer or whatever you need to do on the surface afterwards. Then there was a second question: how do I measure the efficiency of surface treatment? There are different ways of doing it. The two most used ways for us is Dyninks. That gives a very fast and easy result to see. You just put on the ink on the surface, and then you can see if the surface tension is over the dyne level you apply to the surface, or if it's under. So that's a good way just of fast testing. If you want to see more specific what is the surface tension and how is it divided, then you can use contact angle measurements, and we have these also both in our lab, and we also have one we can bring to customers. So that is the way we do it. Then there was one more in the chat. Is it possible to rent Tantech equipment? Yes, it is. If you want to do some testing at your own facility, in your own production line, then of course it's possible to rent Tantech equipment. It will, in most cases, need to be a part of the standard equipment, but we have also a wide range there. And in most cases, the standard products can be used also to verify if treatment is a good solution for your products. So, but please contact Jeff if you are interested in renting or doing more tests. Then he will be the guy for helping you. So, Peter, are there some more questions in the chat?
Does the plasma corona treatment work with powder coatings?
Yes, it does. So that was quite easy. It will work in the same way if you coat with the powder coating also. Yes. So, are there more questions, Peter? Okay. So there are no more questions in the chat at the moment, but you are very welcome to send us some. If you have any questions you don't want to have up here, then please send us directly or call us or what you prefer. Please contact Jeff. He's the right guy for you in the US. Also, if you want to have some of your products tested, it can be done in the US also. They have their own lab there. So please contact us if we can help you. And thank you for joining, and have a nice day. Bye.